Okay, good evening, everybody. You're welcome to this week's Forex Outlook with Great White FX for the 23rd to 27th of October 2023. So we're going to start off with the economic calendar. Looking at the economic calendar, we have Monday is basically news-free, nothing on Monday. We have some high impact news for Euro and British pound going into Tuesday. Then we have on Wednesday also. I think the most major event is going to be Euro rate news on Thursday and advanced GDP on the dollar on Thursday as well. Those are just the major, but we have some major high impact news going into the new week. So that's out of the way. We're going to start off as always with US 100, dollar index, Euro USD, pound dollar, gold, pound yen, and euro yen. So let's start off with the US 100. This is the MT4 variant of NASDAQ 100. So for those not aware. So looking at this, basically we can see that price is at what looks like a support level. But if you look to the left, this other block here, and if you notice, price has not closed below 14,552. They've held above that level, and this daily fair value gap has been holding price. Although this is in a downtrend, going into the new week, there's a possibility due to where price is on the weekly and the daily, we might see a bounce on this pair. We might see a bounce on this pair, and if we get that bounce, what we'll be watching is this fair value gap on the daily. If it rejects price, then we might see price come into this equal lows here. So this will be the draw going into the new week. So for the US 100, we're looking at a bearish continuation after a retracement. If this fair value gap, if price goes beyond it, we have this bearish order block here. We have this bearish order block as the next point in price. As you can see, price is sitting above a daily fair value gap, and we have equal lows here. The next pair we're going to be looking at is the dollar index. The dollar index is in a range, kind of. Let me hide my drawings so that I can better explain this pair. If we look at this pair, price got up to this area and has been in a kind of a range. This daily fair value gap, price has refused to close below the consequent encroachment of it. If you switch to your 4-hour time frame, I'm going to put my annotations there so that I'll be able, if you switch to your 4-hour time frame, price is within this 4-hour candle. If you notice 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 4-hour candles within this candle. So it's in a range. Now, if I pull back my annotations, you will notice this fair value gap here became an inverted fair value gap. And you can see price rejection there. So price is basically ranging between this point and this point. So going into this next week, we would need to see what price is going to do. I have a feeling this may rally and drop lower. If that is to happen, what you're going to note is this candle's range. That's that 4-hour candle range. You're going to project it down, and it's going to bring you into this bullish order block. So that's what we're probably expecting, a down movement, as long as this area, as you can basically see, it's holding in price. So once we get a daily close below the consequent encroachment of the daily, you'll be expecting something like this. Then a move into here, then probably a continuation, because the dollar index is not bearish. It's just in a steep retracement. It's not bearish, it's still bullish. So we might see a bit of a steep retracement, then a continuation back to the upside on the dollar index. So the next one we're going to be looking at is the Euro USD. If we look at the Euro USD from the weekly, we can see that we have what looks like an engulfing. This could pass for a railway, a bullish railway track if you use candle formation. And if we notice, this low price did not close below it. So the possibility exists that going into this new week, we might see a bit of a retracement and a move higher on this pair. So if we go into the daily time frame, price is still within this bearish order block of sorts. Hello, can you still hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay. So price is still within this bearish order block of sorts. If we go to the 4-hour time frame, now let me put back my annotations. Now, if you notice, the dollar index had an inversion on its 4-hour. The euro also has the same thing. Now, the euro is battling a weekly fair value gap. This weekly fair value gap here. And if you notice, there is a 4-hour imbalance here. There's a 4-hour fair value gap here. The midpoint is the lower end of the weekly fair value gap. Let me go to the weekly so that I can show it to you. This is the weekly fair value gap here. Now, let's go back to the 4-hour time frame. If we go back to the 4-hour time frame and we note this fair value gap here, you notice that that weekly low is very close to the consequent encroachment of it. And that's where you've been having price rejection. And there is a range on this 4-hour time frame. So you can see they are both have almost the same thing. So I anticipate a little bit of a retracement probably into here. If here holds, then price will rally. If it breaks out of this range, this is the range projection for the euro. That's this 4-hour range from the high to the low. This is the projection, and the projection will bring you above these equal highs here. It may get there, it may not, because sometimes you need to factor in this is a projection. So you might break it into quadrants. What do I mean by quadrants? Into 25 point basis. So the 50% of that range brings it above this high into the structure point here. If it exceeds that, it has the 75 here, then the full extension above these equal highs. So these are levels you need to note. So going into this new week, I anticipate a little bit of a retracement and a continuation. If this range high breaks, then we might see a move into any of these levels noted here on the Euro USD. So if we go into the GBPUSD, let's look at this from the weekly time frame. Let me remove all my annotation. If you notice, the GBPUSD, normally it moves in the same direction with the Euro USD. But if you notice, the Euro USD had an engulfing candle on the weekly. This is what the GBPUSD has. But if we notice also on the weekly, it's holding above this fair value gap. It didn't close below it. So it's holding above this fair value gap 1. If we go to the daily time frame, we'll notice that it's forming a swing formation here. And then there's a daily fair value gap here that it has not closed. It's tiny. There's a fair value gap here. I don't know if I noted it. No, I didn't note it. But I have this weekly fair value gap. So this pair, we might see a bit of a retracement on it and a continuation into the structure point here. The pound, the GBPUSD is weak as a result of EURGBP. When we get to EURGBP, you will understand why. So it's not showing that much strength. So as long as the EURGBP is showing strength, if the dollar starts to drop lower, a better trade is to buy EURUSD instead of the GBPUSD. So this may retrace a bit into this little 4-hour bullish order block and probably run for any of these highs into this point here. So we might see a bit of a retracement and a rally into this point here on the GBPUSD. The next one we're going to look at is gold. Gold is basically still bullish, but it has taken out some significant structure points on the daily. If you notice, if you look at gold, there's this fair value gap here on the weekly that was tested only once that led to this drop off, and price has come back there to test it. Note this fair value gap. From this point to this point, price ran up into the 75. That's the upper quadrant of this weekly fair value gap. And if we look at it on the daily, we can see that there is a daily fair value gap above this high. Friday closed with a rejection back below 1987.53. If we go into the 4-hour time frame, you can see that rejection. If I pull back my annotations, now let me explain some things here. Now, this is that fair value gap here on the daily, and this is the 75% point. Let me note it out so that we all can see it. You can see price got to the upper quadrant of that fair value gap and dropped. Now, if you go back to the daily, that daily fair value gap, that same point rhymes with the lower quadrant of the daily fair value gap, as you can see. So going into this new, what are we expecting on gold? We might see a bit of a retracement because during the event of the rally, there were lots of imbalance left on gold. As you can see, most of them were unmitigated. So going into this new week, we have a balanced price range on the 1 hour. Let me remove my annotations. You can see it. One candle up, one candle down. So within here, we need to see what price does here. If price gets rejected here, maybe fails to make another high above this, then we might see a retracement into this point before a continuation back up to probably sweep this high and probably fill up this fair value gap on the weekly completely and probably stretch into the daily. So for gold, two things first. If it doesn't drop to sweep these equal lows, expect something like this. If it gets rejected from here, then we'll see something like this, then before a continuation on gold. So that's what we have on gold going into the new week. The next pair we're going to be looking at is EURGBP. Just like I said last week, I said that this pair seems to have woken up. If you watch the review video from last week, you'll see when you'll notice it. I said we expect a bit. We have a clear close above this high here at 86. We can say it's 87 psychological level. So we've had the rally up, the retracement, and the continuation. If we go down to the daily, price has taken liquidity above this high and pulled back. So going into this new week, if we go down to the 4-hour time frame, we expect a bit. Price is still sitting within this bullish 4-hour bullish order block. So we expect a little bit of a retracement and a continuation to the upside. As we can see, we have a break above 86.90, 86.91, and 87.00. So we might see a bit of a retracement and a continuation. The retracement down will signal euro weakness and pound strength. So if the dollar starts to drop during that period, and you notice the EURGBP is retracing, then the GU is going to rally ahead of the EURUSD until this continues to the upside. Then the euro would overtake the British pound. So the next pair we're going to be looking at is British pound. So this pair, although it still has a bullish inclination, it's in a consolidation for now. Take note of the weekly candle close. The weekly candle close looks like an inside kind of formation, but this pair is still tilted to the upside. It's in a consolidation of sort for now. If we go to the 4-hour, it's going to be very clear. You can basically see it. This other block that I noted out last week, price is rotating between the high and this point here. So basically on this pair, we might see a bit of a retracement, maybe to sweep this low and head up to fill up this fair value gap here. So for the GBPUSD, we're looking at a little bit of a retracement and a continuation to the upside. Now, if we go to the Euro Yen, we're going to see a stark difference. Just like I said last week, I said that this is looking is looking too clean. So let's start from the weekly. What do we have on the weekly? A bullish engulfing. So probably 159.76 might be the next draw on price for the Euro Yen. Let's see where price is at this point to the left. Well, price is within a fair value gap. Let me put my annotations. Price is within a fair value gap here. So if we go back here, you can see that weekly fair value gap has been capping price for a while. Let me note that. If you notice, it has been capping price for a while at this point here. So going into this new week, if we drop down to the 4-hour time frame, this may retrace a bit into this point here. Then now gone up for probably this high. So you might see a bit of a retracement on this and a continuation to the upside on the Euro Yen. So any pair, any questions? Is there any pair or any question anybody want me, any pair you want me to look at that I didn't go over, or any questions before we call it a day? Hello?
For me, it's fine.
Okay. So in the absence of any other questions, the video will be posted to the YouTube. So don't forget to like and share the video. And I wish everybody a wonderful weekend and a lovely trading week ahead. Good night, everybody.